You reach for it before you decide to. Your hand moves on its own. The phone is in your palm, the screen is glowing, and you don't remember choosing to look. You are waiting for the kettle, or sitting at a red light, or lying in bed in the dark, and suddenly there it was. You check it 144 times a day. You probably think that's a habit, a small modern weakness, a thing you could quit if you really wanted to. But the real answer is far stranger. Because you are not weak, you are not addicted in the way you've been told. The truth is that a 70,000-year-old survival system is running inside your skull right now, and a multi-billion-dollar industry has learned to play it like an instrument. The phone didn't create the urge. The phone found a door that was already open. Let's go back and find that door. Imagine you were standing on a grassland a very long time ago. You are one of your ancestors. You have a brain that is, in almost every meaningful way, the same brain you have today. And that brain has one job above all others: stay alive long enough to pass yourself on. To do that, it needs to do one thing relentlessly. It needs to scan. Where's the food? Where's the water? Where's the predator? Where's the rival? Where is the mate? Information was survival. The ancestor who noticed the rustle in the grass lived. The one who didn't fed something else. So your brain evolved to crave new information the way it craves sugar and salt. Novelty became a reward all by itself. Not because new information is always useful, but because in a dangerous world, the cost of missing something was death, and the cost of checking was almost nothing. Check too often, and you waste a little energy. Check too rarely, and you get eaten. Evolution does that math every single time, and it always rounds up. Always check again. This is the open door, a nervous system built to hunt for news. Now here is where it gets stranger. In the 1990s, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz was recording the brains of monkeys, watching a single chemical messenger called dopamine. For decades, people believed dopamine was the pleasure chemical, the thing that floods you when you get what you want. Schultz found something that quietly rewrote everything. The dopamine didn't spike when the monkey got the reward. It spiked before. It spiked at the signal that a reward might be coming. Dopamine was not about pleasure. It was about anticipation. It was the chemistry of maybe. Sit with that word, maybe. Dopamine is not the feeling of the treat. It is the feeling of reaching for the treat. It is the lean forward, the wanting, the itch right before. And Schultz found one more thing, the part that matters most for the rectangle in your pocket. The dopamine response was strongest, not when the reward was certain, but when it was unpredictable. When the monkey couldn't be sure whether the reward was coming this time or not, the wanting system lit up the hardest. Certainty is boring to the brain. Maybe is electric. Your ancestors lived in a world of maybe. Maybe there's fruit over that hill. Maybe the herd moved north. Maybe today is the day. The brain that got the biggest jolt from maybe was the brain that kept searching, kept moving, kept finding. So that brain won, and it handed the hunger down, generation after generation, all the way to you, sitting here, holding a glass screen that runs on exactly one principle. Maybe there's something new. You pull down to refresh. Maybe there's a message. You open the app. Maybe someone liked it. You check the screen. Maybe, maybe, maybe. Every refresh is a reach into the tall grass. Most of the time there's nothing. And that nothing is the point. Because if every check delivered a reward, your brain would relax. It's the uncertainty, the not knowing, that keeps the wanting system screaming. There is a name for this exact design. It comes from a psychologist named B.F. Skinner, working with rats and pigeons in the middle of the last century. Skinner put animals in boxes with a lever. When he rewarded them every single time they pressed calmly and only when hungry. But when he rewarded them on a random schedule, sometimes yes, sometimes no, no way to predict, the animals pressed that lever compulsively, frantically, for hours. He called it a variable ratio reinforcement schedule. It is the most powerful and stubborn pattern of behavior ever found in a living brain. It is also, exactly, a slot machine. And it is exactly your phone. An anthropologist named Natasha Dow Schüll spent years studying the people who designed casino machines, and she found that the goal was never the jackpot. The goal was the zone, the state where you stop playing to win and start playing to keep playing, where the machine and the nervous system lock together and time disappears. The designers engineered every light, every sound, every near miss to pull you deeper into that zone. And then the people who design the apps in your pocket learn the same lessons. The pull to refresh gesture on your phone is, mechanically, the arm of a slot machine.
You pull, the wheels spin, and maybe. You are not weak. You are a hunter-gatherer holding a slot machine that fits in your hand and never runs out of coins. So why does it feel so bad? Here is the cruel twist. The wanting and the liking are two different systems in the brain, and the phone hijacks the first one without ever satisfying the second. The dopamine pulls you to check, but checking rarely gives you anything your deeper self actually wanted. You reached into the grass 144 times and pulled out almost nothing, and yet the reaching feels mandatory. You can feel hollow and compelled at the same time, empty and unable to stop. That is not a moral failure. That is two ancient systems being pried apart and one of them being farmed. A researcher named Gloria Mark, who studies attention, has spent decades measuring how long people stay focused on a single thing before switching. In the early 2000s, the average was about 2.5 minutes. By recent years, she measured it dropping to around 47 seconds. 47 seconds. And every switch comes with a cost. After you check, it takes real time, sometimes many minutes, for your attention to climb back to where it was. You are not losing the seconds you spend looking. You are losing the long, deep, uninterrupted attention that was the whole engine of human thought. Now think about what that constant scanning was for, originally. It was for connection as much as for danger. Your ancestors lived in small bands, maybe a few dozen people, and your standing in that group was a matter of life and death. To be cast out was to die, so your brain evolved to care, desperately, urgently, about what others think of you. Are they talking about me? Did I do something wrong? Am I still in the group? That ancient social hunger is the same one that makes your stomach drop when a message says delivered, but not read. The same one that makes a small red number on an icon feel like something you must answer right now. The notification didn't invent that fear. It rented a fear that has kept your species alive for 100,000 years. Have you ever felt your phone buzz in your pocket when it didn't buzz at all? That's a real studied thing. Phantom vibration. Your scanning system is now so primed, so tuned to the signal, that it generates the alert on its own. The grass is rustling even when there's no wind. That is how deep the hook goes. Your nervous system has started hallucinating the very thing it's been trained to hunt. So what do you do with this? Not shame. Shame is the wrong tool, and worse, it usually sends you back to the phone for comfort. The first thing to do is simply to see it, to understand that the urge is not you being broken. It is a brilliant survival instinct meeting a machine built specifically to exploit it. The pull is ancient, the trap is new, and once you can feel the difference between the wanting and the wanting of something real, the spell starts very slightly to loosen. You can change the environment instead of fighting your own brain. Turn off the notifications that hijack the social fear. Move the slot machine apps off the home screen so your hand can't find them via decision. Put the phone in another room while you sleep so the first reach of the day has to travel further than your nightstand. You are not trying to become stronger than 100,000 years of evolution. You are just trying to close the door it keeps walking through. Because here is the thing the phone industry understands and hopes you never will. The same instinct that checks the screen 144 times a day is the instinct that once noticed the ripe fruit, tracked the wounded animal, learned the song of every bird, and read the faces of everyone it loved. The hunger to know is not the enemy. It is the most human thing about you. It built language, it built science, it built the very curiosity that let you read this far. The screen just points that hunger at nothing. So tomorrow, when your hand moves before you decide to, when the phone is in your palm and the screen is glowing and you don't remember choosing to look, you'll know what's really happening. It isn't weakness. It's a hunter, 70,000 years old, still scanning the grass for something worth finding. The only question that's changed is the one you get to answer now. What are you going to point it at?